Hello and welcome to Kramer's Corner with this weekly technical update brought to you by Korea. Check them out. And today we'll have a look at NASDAQ 100, US 10-year Treasury yields, Euro dollar, the dollar index, and gold, of course. We'll need to look at gold. But first, I have to say this is an educational video. There is no recommendation or advice whatsoever intending to do this, only to demonstrate how I use the chart and read the chart to try to kind of maybe predict what could happen or what scenarios that could unfold and look at trends and so on. As usual, here on the left side, I have a daily chart. Each candle here, they are 1 day of trading. On the left side, we have the weekly chart. I have the relative strength index down here at the bottom. It's a trend indicator. It is a strength indicator. Overbought, oversold can be used for many things. But let's get cracking and let's have a look at NASDAQ 100 that closed just below Friday at the closing, just below 21,454 resistance. Did test it the day before, very close to at least. So let's see what will unfold. There's positive sentiment on the RSI, and when RSI is above 60 threshold and until it breaks back below 40 threshold, well, then we are in a positive sentiment. There's no divergence, meaning this peak here on RSI also is a peak on the actual price graph. So there is no divergence, meaning they match. So what we could expect is that we could expect higher levels. However, if we look at the, just very briefly, at the pre-market, here is the US NASDAQ 100 CFD that is based on, primarily based on the future. We can see that it is actually trading down a little bit, about 1.2% here pre-market. And Friday and Thursday, we actually had 2 days where it closed basically unchanged. So we call them dojis. So if we get a negative candle today, a negative a candle formation today, a red one today, a bearish candle, or a negative end to the market tonight, well, then we have a top and reversal pattern in place. And let's see, it will, of course, it is the NASDAQ 100 cash index that is actually the leading one here. The futures market is a little bit not as reliable as the cash index. So, but still, if we get a negative day to day, well, then the market could face a correction, taking it down to maybe around 21,600, maybe 21,500, but I'm not quite sure it'll be that much. But you can see here the 100 moving average turning around, start rising here, to say with 255 coming up here. And again, we're still in a positive sentiment. Weekly, we can see we are actually quite close to previous all-time highs. So what will be key? Key will be, can the weekly RSI close above the 60 threshold and above the falling trend line here, and that'll be key here towards at the end of this week. Or will it be rejected? And if it's being rejected, then maybe we'll not have a new all-time high. So really an interesting week it could be. But I think we will start by setting back a little bit. And maybe this setting back is due to the fact that the US 10-year Treasury yield is currently on the rise. It's been on the rise for about a week or so, and it's currently, as we speak, testing a minor resistance here at 455. And if it breaks above, well, and then we are looking at 465, and suddenly we are up here also looking at 475 and 480. And then we are very close to previous peaks here around the 5%. So that could be crucial for the coming time, the coming weeks. We can see all moving averages, 55 here on the daily, 200 here on the weekly, also on the daily, sorry, are actually rising. The 100 is still flat, but let's see. I think it will start to turn up here also if we get the interest rate above 455. Here we have on the weekly, we have the 100 moving average also pushing higher. So what will also be key is, will RSI on the weekly close above 60 threshold or not? If it does, well, then it will support higher levels. They're already supporting it on the daily. So it seems like higher yields in US is coming. What it will also influence could be, of course, the euro dollar, but at the moment it seems like the euro dollar is pushing higher and could resume uptrend, meaning a weaker dollar. So 126.50, 126.60, we have some resistance here testing at the moment. If it can close above, well, then we are looking at 113.80, which is the next one. And if it does break above and close above that, well, then I think we'll see a new push towards 117, 180. And we can see here on the weekly what it will mean. We will then be up in this region here, 117.18. And if I just zoom out quite a bit, you can see what comes from all this correction phase over there back in 2021. It was key for euro dollar to either break below or hold the support here just around 110.50, 55, and it was very close to, but it bounced off, even not touching the 55 moving average, which is rising. And we also have the 200 rising, we have the 100. Give it a few more days, then we'll also have the 100 breaking above the 200 axis. They're both rising. So the underlying trend is positive, also supported by the RSI that bounced off the 40 threshold, meaning it didn't go into negative sentiment. And if it closes back above 60 threshold, it will further confirm upside potential for euro dollar. Key support again towards 110.50 area here. If it does break and close below that, well, then we have a completely new situation. And let's have a look at the euro dollar. Sorry, the dollar index. The dollar index has already broken below its minor support here at 100.32. Currently here on the daily, testing the lower rising trend line. I think it will break below it. RSI rejected here at 60 threshold. Also rejected here at the 61.8 retracement or 101.80 of this downtrend here. So I think we'll see also the dollar index resuming downtrend. Also, you see the 55 moving average there, kind of pushing it lower. So I think in the coming days and weeks, we'll see a test down to 99.25, possibly lower. On the weekly, well, it didn't bounce much in the bigger picture. We can see all moving averages are declining, still negative sentiment on the RSI. I can also see here the RSI on the weekly actually broke. No, it was rejected. Sorry, it was rejected at the 40 threshold. So it is indicating we are likely to see a lower level. So that is a little bit of a worry for the dollar. The dollar seems to be weakening at the moment. Moving on to the gold, we have to look at gold. Of course, we have to look at gold because it's such an important piece of metal, basically, and also investment. So what it did here about last week, it was actually on the 15th of May, it dipped below support of 3,167. It didn't get all the way down to test this lower rising trend line. It bounced off already at the 55 moving average here, so that seems to be strong. We can also see it's very close to the rising trend line there. So now we seems to be bouncing again, despite the fact there was divergence on the RSI. But if RSI down here moves back above the upper falling trend line here, and especially closing above 60 threshold, then it will further confirm that we could be bouncing back to maybe even new highs, but let's see about that. But the next resistance, not the strongest one, but still the 61.8 retracement of this sell-off there, which is there around 3,315. If it takes out that, well, then it could challenge these peaks here just below 3,450 here, and here was actually about 3,500. So what if we're looking at the weekly chart, well, divergence, as you can see, these peaks here on the RSI are lower than here, but the market price on the gold was actually higher. So that is what we call a divergence, an imbalance in the market, or a sign of trend exhaustion. If we just switch to the monthly chart from the weekly chart, we can see here that it was a massive spike higher and then collapsed, and now it seems to be a little bit indecisive. However, as we can see here, and that is actually quite interesting, on the weekly, I added this horizontal line. It actually closed at a new all-time high, and RSI also closed at a high. So meaning there's no divergence on the RSI on the monthly chart, indicating we could see higher levels. So let's see about that in the coming weeks. However, if gold is taking out to the downside 3,120, then I think we could see a sell-off down to at least 3,000, where we had the 100 moving average coming up here, maybe even down to the support here 29.55. All right, that's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. You can find me on Kramer's Corner TA on YouTube channel, and Kramer's _corner on X or Twitter. See you next week.